The two-tiered voting system has some people upset, and it could mean you may not be able to vote in state elections. Now, Y isn't the only unusual name in the state. You can also find Santa Claus, Snowflake. Now, the plan to reduce Arizona wildfire risks could save the state millions of dollars and countless lives. But the money to fund the bill, that's just not there. Ooh. It's obviously black and white why you don't wear high heels to the golf course, but some women's PGA players say there's gray area when it comes to 11-year-old Lucy Lee competing with them. Our investigation in October found that at least 90 abused and neglected children had either died or nearly died in the past 4 years. Because of the most recent E. coli breakout, the next time you restock your fridge, you might want to rethink what you put in. Once you put your belongings on the back of that truck, you could be losing your furniture, your electronics, and your money. The clerk chased the robber out with his baseball bat, leaving the robber empty-handed as he escaped. While the runners built up a thirst this morning, the real purpose was for a greater need.
To feel like you're doing everything you can. And to feel like there's nothing you can do. It's the worst feeling in the world.
Easton Garbett was taken to the ER in early May.
We've got a 2-year-old that was stung by a scorpion about 20 minutes ago, and now he is starting to vomit.
But this emergency wasn't just a quick trip to the hospital.
Fearing that we would be getting pulled over for speeding, we decided to pull up alongside the officer and let him know that we were in a medical emergency.
An emergency that caused Easton's mom, Jennifer, to put on the brakes once again.
About 2 miles down the road, the officer pulled us over.
Not once, but twice while her son was convulsing in the back seat.
He was a couple feet from our bumper and he got on his loudspeaker as though we were like in a police chase. He said, "You're not going anywhere, and if you leave, you will be arrested."
As they waited, Easton's conditions got worse.
And I turned to him and I begged and pleaded and I cried and I said, "Please let me get my baby some medical help."
But a nearby ambulance did help. Jennifer waved them down and Easton was transported to the hospital and treated. Jennifer has since filed for an investigation with DPS to look into why this officer kept her from getting her son help.
Sometimes officers need to exercise power, and sometimes they just need to exercise compassion.
Amanda Lane, 12 News. This cemetery is the final resting place for 22-month-old Zanaya Flores, who last year starved to death. One of dozens of babies that died after being abused or neglected in Arizona in the last 4 years.
That's our most vulnerable population.
Gregory McKay, head of child welfare investigations with the Department of Economic Security, says the youngest children are at the highest risk of abuse and neglect.
The children 0 through 5 represent 83% of all child fatalities, and about 50% of all felony child abuse are children in that age range.
Our investigation shows that since 2009, there have been 178 cases of children under the age of 2 years old who died or nearly died at the hands of their parent or caregiver. Of these, 94 resulted in death. The warning signs for some of them seem too serious to have been forgotten. At the time of Zanaya's birth, her mother, Kiana Higgins, was in custody, accused of criminal damage and driving under the influence. CPS records show that she was also being held for felony child abuse charges. 2 years later, Zanaya fell victim to missed opportunities. Zanaya suffered seizures from lack of nutrition and died. Police records state she was extremely emaciated. Her brother was also found malnourished, dehydrated, and with physical injuries to his face, abdomen, and torso that he claimed to be from his mother and aunt.
What do you do to prevent child abuse? And the answer is complicated, because child abuse is complicated.
Prevent Child Abuse Arizona tries to keep children out of harmful situations and mentors parents from the time their children are born.
One of the most important things we can do for families in America and in Arizona today is to provide home visitation services.
Babies cry. Some cry a lot. So much
They also produce PSAs to remind parents that physical acts against their children should never occur.
It's okay. Whatever you do, never, ever shake a baby.
Maverick Riggin was 2 months old when he died after his father, Fade Riggin, admitted to shaking him repeatedly over the course of a month.
Well, historically, the physical evidence was a history of a confession of shaking, plus the retinal hemorrhages, plus the bleeding.
At 2 months old, Maverick could not defend himself.
And those are the children least likely to be able to talk about their abuse articulately, and are least likely seen by external eyes.
CPS denied our request for an on-camera interview, but sent this response, stating that they look at the totality of the case and all information that's available to assess the child safety and family situation. Prevent Child Abuse Arizona says they try to help parents with the resources they need before children are lost in preventable situations.
Those home visitors can deal with all kinds of issues. They help the family set financial goals. They help them figure out what's good childcare. They help them get into either a job or back into college. They can really change the outcome of their lives, and that's prevention.
For the investigative team, Amanda Lane, Cronkite News. Christmas comes a little early around Phoenix First Assembly of God. Through Santa's workshop and past the stacks of yet-to-be-opened bike boxes, you can find hundreds of volunteers that filled the campus Saturday morning to put together bikes. 5,000 of them. Over the past 3 decades, nearly 100,000 bikes have been given to the community for free. The bikes are given to the less fortunate children in the area that otherwise may not have any Christmas presents under their tree. World-renowned senior pastor Tommy Barnett says that the job of the church is not to stay in a religious bubble, but to reach out to those who need the love of God.
A church was built for this cause. If a church was just built to be blessed, it'd be a terrible thing. But we were built to be a blessing.
From 6 in the morning until noon, volunteers sacrificed their Saturday and built bike after bike with a little coffee and a free lunch to help keep them going.
So we got here at 5:45. It was dark out, we had a couple lights out, and from there on we've just been building bikes.
Bikes are handed out on December 15th at 10 in the morning, and kids who otherwise wouldn't have a ride to receive their gift are bussed in. Bike Build is a yearly event that encourages the community to donate some of their time to make one child's Christmas a little brighter.
People want to do good if they know how. Someone just has to tell them how. Give them direction, and they'll do it.
I'm Amanda Lane reporting for Cronkite Newswatch.